say, hi, Brother Bill.
Hi, Brother Bill. Good afternoon, Brother Bill.
Well, we're looking at, we're going to start in Exodus 35 tonight. Most of these, these are actually, I got two lessons here, 35, or two chapters, 35 and 36, because for the most part, these are repeating some of the earlier chapters. And we'll find out as we go through it, but there are some new stuff in there, new things, but a lot of it we've already talked about. This is just repeating. You got to remember, this is after the idol, and Moses had gone up again to the mountain, gotten the second set of tabernacle, or second set of tables, brought them back down, and these are re-emphasizing, because he's brought the people together. We'll see in verse 1. He says, gather all the congregation together, and starts going over some of these things. Excuse me. And I may have y'all read a little bit tonight. I'm still got some shots today, but I'm still allergy upset. It seems like, because of everything that's blooming. And Moses gathered all the congregation of the children of Israel together, and said unto them, these are the words which the Lord hath commanded, that ye should do them. 6 days shall work be done, but on the seventh day there shall be to you a holy day, a Sabbath of rest to the Lord. Whosoever doeth work therein shall be put to death. Ye shall kindle no fire throughout your habitations upon the Sabbath day. So he's re-emphasizing part of the commandments. This is one of the commandments. And why do you think he's doing this? I mean, why do you think he's re-emphasizing?
So they won't forget.
That's right. You already told them, and they heard it. They said, yeah, we'll do it. And then they didn't. They went outside. So he went up the mountain, got it again, came back down, and just reminding them that this is very serious. This is the first time that I remember, maybe it wasn't the last time, but at this one time it says, you shall be put to death if you do work. Okay? One of the things that was extra, there's two words in the Hebrew language, avodah, it's down there at the bottom, and melech, if I say it right. Avodah is a general term meaning of work, while melekah is a word more related to business and things specially forbidden on the Sabbath. So one might say here, God allowed some work to be done, but certainly not anything business related. It also says that they shouldn't have any fire kindled, no fire started. Now that would be a little bit, if you had a fire going, you could keep it going. But you could start a new fire. This is mainly for cooking, what they're talking about. It says it's mainly for the fire for the purpose of doing work or dressing victuals, getting dinner ready, but to give them light and heat. They judge it lawful to light a fire on the Sabbath day to give them light or heat. So it's to us that well, that's kind of a double standard. You can't start a fire, but you can to light a light, or if you're cold, to light a fire. But God had specific purposes, and that's where the language kind of gets in our way on understanding things. Because of this, it's like, as long as you're not doing business. Now, one of the things Jesus or the Sanhedrin had in Jesus' days was, of course, no work to be done. The fishermen, which most of the disciples were fishermen, wasn't supposed to fish on the Sabbath, because that's work. That was their livelihood. They'd go out, John and his brother and his father and Peter and Andrew and all those had to do it during the regular week. But one of the series, that was the Chosen series, if you watch that, the first few episodes,
I saw it.
you get in trouble. They got in tax trouble, Peter and Andrew did, and they had to go out and try to fish, and he had to do it. Peter was doing it at night on the Sabbath. And of course, we remember the Sabbath starts before sundown. Actually starts at sundown. They said the strict Jew, or strict Israelite back then, I guess, would even start an hour earlier, just so they would capture them. Because, sundown, you're watching the sun, you're watching the sun. Okay, it's good. Can't do it anymore. But they just do it before. And then after, when the sun starts setting again, they do it an hour after. And it says that a little bit later in here, I think, or in one of the commentaries I was reading. But that's just, we have to understand God's serious about that. He gave 6 days, he created everything in the entire universe. And he only asks for 1 day for rest for us. Now, that was superseded when Christ said, every day is a Sabbath for us. In him, we have our rest. It doesn't mean we can work 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, 7 days. We'd give out.
Don't you think a lot, though? I mean, even like the 7 sabbatical, where there's soil, they rotate the soil and stuff like that. That reminds us of our dependence upon God.
Right.
I mean, okay, you can only work 6 days a week. You need to take one off for rest, but at the same time, you need to know that God's going to take care of you. When they were in the wilderness, how that sometimes they try to get a jump on the next week and they get a little more manna than they should when they got ready to go. It was spoiled. It was learn to depend upon them. And even like, I guess if you was a farmer, that sabbatical year came around.
You're saving up that last couple of years, not planting everything, keeping a little seed back for your own. To make flour and make whatever fruit you had, whatever plants you had, to try to save it. But God provided. If you go through and read some of the stories like that, He provided in the year ahead of it more than surplus. And of course, if you took care of it, you canned it or dried it or however you did, it would last them almost supernaturally, kind of like some of the 10 plagues that the people had. Their clothes that lasted them for 40 years, their shoes, everything that they needed to understand God was going to provide it for them if it was truly needed. Now they didn't get everything they want. So that ought to be a lesson to us today. We don't need everything we want, but God will help us with what we need. He will be there for us. Verse 4, and Moses spoke unto all the congregation of the children of Israel, saying, this is the thing which the Lord commanded, saying, take ye from among you an offering unto the Lord. Whosoever is a willing heart, let him bring it an offering of the Lord, gold and silver and brass, and blue and purple and scarlet, and fine linen, and goat's hair, and ram's hair, and ram skin, dyed red, and badger skin, and acacia wood, and oil for the light, spices for anointing oil, and for the sweet incense, and onyx stones, and stones to be set for the ephod and for the breastplate. We read all about these. These are the furnishings for the tabernacle where he said we want to offer it. People come in and give offerings. Now, they've already given one offering for the idol. They gave some of the gold and some of the stuff to make the idol. Now he's asking them to do it for the tabernacle. And we'll see in just a minute, but he said, this is the thing what the Lord told you to do. Go give this. This is a free will offering. We'll see a little bit later. It's not a tax. It's not anything. Some people didn't have it to give. But whatever they had to give, if they could give it, they should give it. And God gave them. It was from a willing heart. He knew what they could give.
Was the tithe system already in at this time?
It hasn't. We see that later in Leviticus. Now, I think it was already there. We see Abraham, tithing and giving to Melchizedek, but it wasn't an edict that we have seen in this Exodus period. But it very well could have been. We'll see it a little later on. Now, it does talk about, a few weeks ago we talked about a half shekel for a tax, and that'll come up again later on in the Numbers, Deuteronomy, and those guys. So, but this was just an offering that he wanted. They had to give it purposefully in their heart and not grudgingly. And it was all the things that we see, both gold for the boards that had to be covered on the inside, the silver for the foundations of the boards that went up and down, the actual wood, the boards for the wood, all the different aspects of that, the linen and the thread that they have, because they had to make it. Some people had the thread, but they wasn't really seamstresses, or they would make it. So other people would do the work. They would go and make it. So everybody contributed as best they could when they were getting ready to build this tabernacle. Verse 10, and every wise-hearted among you shall come and make all that the Lord hath commanded. The tabernacle, his tent, his covering, his taches, his boards, his bars, his pillars, his sockets, the ark, the staves thereof, with the mercy seat, the veil of the covering, the table, and his staves, and all his vessels, and all the showbread, the candlestick also for the light, and his furniture, and his lamps, with the oil for the light, and the incense altar, and his staves, and the anointing oil, and the sweet incense, and the hanging for the door at the entrance or entering in of the tabernacle, the altar of burnt offering with his brazen grate, the staves, his staves, and all his vessels, the laver, and his foot, the hangings of the court, his pillars, their sockets, and the hangings for the door of the court, the pins of the tabernacle, and the pins of the court, and their cords, the cloths of service to do service in the holy place, the holy garments for Aaron the priest, and the garments of his sons to his minister in the priest's office. So he's calling upon a lot of people to do some work. Everybody's going to have something to do. Now, I say everybody, there's 2 million people there, plus or minus. Now, how many was kids and old people, we don't know, but God made it where these people contributed, and they contributed both what they had physically and then their talents that they had.
And it lets us know, though, that all of us have a part in God's program.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, from being a free will offering, and all of this, they wanted it, people willing to do that out of their desire.
Right. Some of them, the Levites, they're going to have to give their life. The priests, basically, they're giving up their way of living to become what God wanted them to become. Verse 20. And all the congregation of the children of Israel departed from the presence of Moses. So this was all in, at the foot of the mountain there when they came together. Read all this off and told them. And they came, every one of them, whose heart stirred him up, and every one whom his spirit made willing. And they brought the Lord's offering to the work of the tabernacle of the congregation, and for all his service, and for the holy garments. And they came, both men and women, as many as were willing-hearted, and brought bracelets, earrings, rings, tablets, all jewels of gold, and every man that offered an offering of gold unto the Lord. And every man with whom was found blue, and purple, and scarlet, and fine linen, and goat's hair, and red skins of rams, and badger skins brought them. Every one that did offer an offering of silver and brass brought the Lord's offering, and every man with whom was found acacia wood for any work of the service brought it. And all the women that were wise-hearted did spin with their hands, and brought that which they had spun, both of the blue, of the purple, and of the scarlet, and of fine linen. And all the women whose hearts stirred them up in wisdom spun goat's hair. And the rulers brought onyx stones, and stones to be set for the ephod, and for the breastplate, and spice and oil for the light, and for the anointing oil, and for the sweet incense. The children of Israel brought a willing offering unto the Lord, every man and woman, whose heart made them willing to bring for all manner of work, which the Lord had commanded to be made by the hand of Moses. So it just reiterates what we said before, that each one of them had a part to play. And that's, to me, what happens today. If the Lord moves upon you in a certain way to give an offering, then you need to give that offering. Sometimes I think it may be that we don't give as we are instructed, and that money goes away. Somehow it's gone. It's not, he's not going to let you keep it for some reason. But he will get it if you will freely give to it, and he will provide additional. People have to learn sometimes, just like the man. Well, I'm stubborn. I don't want to give you this. This is all I got to live on. Well, they give it to you the next day. But you need to feed your neighbor. You may have more than enough. You didn't get enough. You give it to him. To me, that's the community spirit that the church should be. That we had. The early church was that way. When people needed something, they gave it. They gave parcel of land. One of them did, and Josephus, I think, and then anyway, then two of them got caught in Ananias and Sapphira got caught. They sold the land, and if they'd give them all the money for it, it'd been fine. But they lied about how much they got for it, and that's why they perished. So everything and everyone whose heart was stirred up and gave the free willing offering to them.
If we can truly get even here the true meaning of giving to God. I mean, I was raised in a church home, and I lived and I saw and put in practice my parents paying tithes. My parents, I know there's been times as little kids, we'd go home and then on a Sunday night or on a Wednesday night, and we wouldn't have, Dad got paid every couple of weeks, back then with 3 kids. You may only have a couple of dollars left, and they'd give it, they might need milk or bread or something, but he'd give that $2 in an offering. Mom would, she'd say, "Yep, we need," he said, "Don't worry about it. God will take care of us." And I look back now, and I see how God blessed them. People, I know I've pastored some of y'all for quite a while, okay? And I know you have a giving heart, and God rewards that. I remember, that the thing we used to say every Sunday morning. We don't put it up much anymore, but I thought, we say that a lot of times. You see people saying that, but they don't give.
Right.
They don't pay their tithes. We can't expect God to bless us.
Right.
I mean,
I've heard of people that was in their business, and that would be the word. Well, you need to tithe. He said, I just can't hardly make ends meet. He said, the pastor told him, you need to tithe. He goes, how in the world can I tithe? I can't, And what happened is their business started growing, and they almost had to turn down business because they couldn't keep up with it. But the Lord blessed them, and they tithed that they should have been tithing. And the Lord's faithful. He will help us. We don't understand it as far as humanly, because we have to work for a job, and they only give us so much money and all this stuff. It's like, how in the world is God going to do this? I don't know, but God will do it. He will. It says something here is kind of interesting. Though their hearts were willing, they didn't know what to give, when to give, or how to give until Moses led them. He had to tell them, this is what you need to give. They had heard that this was going to take place, all these things, but each one of them was like us. We don't know, okay, you're going to build a house. Okay, I'm going to need so much lumber and so many nails and so much this, how much that. But until they tell us how much it is, we don't know what's going to happen. If something happens around the church, when we needed that air conditioner one time, um, we had some money, but people stepped up. We really didn't have to delve into our kind of reserves.
Well, I know this, I've probably mentioned it before, but, when I was, when I had the seizures, and I had the wreck, and couldn't work for years, couldn't drive. But I'd always heard guys like Brother Eddie Kitchen and some of those old timers talk about how God took care of them when they, and I, here I was off. I didn't pastor for 4 years, okay? I received money the year I was off. And I did the years that I worked, I mean, not in one assignment, but in other words, what I made that year, people giving to me in the church. I had several churches take offerings. You can't tell me that giving to God, if you do it from the heart,
That's right.
God's going to bless you.
It's almost like it's we're supposed to do it willingly and without expecting anything necessarily.
Right.
But it's kind of a test of our faith also.
It is.
Do we really believe that God is going to meet it and meet the needs? Or is it Janet and Harold going to meet our needs? It's such a blessing to do this. And people that don't do it are missing a big blessing.
Yes, they are. And more people, they don't, I think I've told this before too. My boss, one of my first bosses, he was a deacon, or usher maybe. He may have been saying in the church, but they rotated. And he was taking offering that day, and I don't know, for some reason I asked him, how much did you give? He said, I put in $20. And I said, you don't give 20%? He's like, or 10%? He goes, 10%? How in the world? It was just like $20, and he was my boss, and I knew what I was making, so I know he's making double or more than what I. And it's just like, are you crazy?
I got that. So when I pastored one of the churches I pastored, we had a young man, and he was mentally challenged, okay? But he liked to take offerings, okay, for the church. And sometimes when he would, he'd pass the offering plate, and if he did it, he'd
stand there.
Until they put something.
Your turn. Your turn.
Well, that's one way to do it. Stand there till they give, if it's not you,
A lot of churches put all the ties and stuff on.
Oh, up on the board, yeah.
My brother, when they changed, when his church sold out and they changed pastors, everyone in that church was asked how much your income was, because this is how much you're supposed to give.
Yeah.
And my brother was so shocked. He's my really challenged brother anyway, and goes, I never.
Well,
I give, but I never have to tell.
Some of my friends are Catholic prostration, I guess, and they get bills. If they don't pay, they get done, or whatever you want to say. So they know how much you make, evidently, and everything. I did notice that this week, some of the upper echelon of our world, they release their tax statuses, and I'm like, Joe Biden, he didn't give me 10%. I can see that. And somebody else. Here's a bunch of them like that. I'm like, yeah, they ain't giving their 10%. I can tell you that. So, anyway, let's go on. Verse 30. And Moses said unto the children of Israel, see, the Lord hath called by name Bezalel, and the son of Uri, and the son of Hur, of the tribe of Judah. And he hath filled him with the Spirit of God, in wisdom and understanding, and in knowledge, and in all manner of workmanship, and to devise curious works, to work in gold, and in silver, and in brass, and in the cutting of stones, to set them, and in carving of wood, to make any manner of cunning work. And he hath put in his heart that he may teach both he and Aholiab, the son of Ashmach, of the tribe of Dan. I'm tearing these words up at the names, but that's all right. Them hath he filled with the wisdom of heart, to work all manner of work, of the engraver, of the cunning workman, of the embroiderer in blue and purple and scarlet and in fine linen, and of the weaver, even of them that do any work, and of those that devise cunning work. So these two guys, they're the foremen, basically. They're the kind of going to be over this project. Project managers is what they usually call them today. But they're going to get in their specialty, wherever they're at, they're going to get these people lined out, who needs to do what, and how much, and all these different things. And this lesson actually ends on the next verse, the first verse of the next one. Verse 1 of 36. Then wrought Bezalel and Aholiab. I'm going to say these names the same every time I read them. And every wise-hearted man in whom the Lord put wisdom and understanding to know how to work all manner of work for the service of the sanctuary, according to all that the Lord had commanded. So these guys were put in charge, and then God helped them as they showed other people what they needed to do. And that's what a good manager or a good project coordinator or foreman or whoever it is, they know what to do. They may show you a time or two, and then after that, you're on your own. I mean, the first time I scraped joints, I didn't have any clue as to what was going on. I, saw them putting a rock in there and how to did it. Sometimes I'd do it too far and have to put some more mud back in, and the rock would fall, and I'd have to put it back up, and all this stuff that, you just have to learn. It's part of it as you're going through. So that's what they did. They knew these people, and they built this process where they're going to have to build this tabernacle, all these things. Verse 2 of Exodus 32. And Moses called Bezalel and Aholiab and every wise-hearted man in whose heart the Lord had put wisdom, even everyone whose heart stirred him up to come unto the work to do it. And they received of Moses all the offering which the children of Israel had brought for the work of the service of the sanctuary, to make it withal. And they brought yet unto him freewill offerings every morning. So they started building right away. They started getting all this stuff together. And every day, if they brought everything and just laid it there, they wouldn't need it. I mean, they could use it eventually, but it was each day. You got 2 million people. You can't receive everything in one day. It's like, somebody keeping track of it. They had to plan out. These guys had, okay, we need this many boards, this many foot. I'm going to use this much 10% scrap, so I'll need a total of these many boards. And these are going to be the stands, they're going to be this wide and this high, and it's going to take so much. All the planning that went with it. So they knew, they put all this down when they started, and they kept, as people were coming by each morning as they were giving, they'd plan maybe by tribe. Each tribe would come up. I don't know how it was working, but they would bring it. And as they were moved upon, it says, as their hearts were stirred, it says literally, whose hearts was lifted up, those that God moved upon. And I think that's a lot like we today, when God moves upon us and impresses upon us to give to somebody, we need to heed that call. Sometimes there are things, even today, I know there's one, met a man one time at I think it was a gas station. It's a while ago, several years ago now, but, I've been approached by people wanting money, and I'm going to do this and that and the other, I'm going to so-and-so, and most of the time I say, nah, I'm not going to give you any money. I say, well, if you're over here, I'll fill your car up, or I'll get you a sandwich, or whatever you can do. But in that particular guy, he asked for a certain amount of money. It seems like it's $20, so it had to be a long time ago. Had to fill your car up. But the Lord just impressed upon me, he's telling you the truth, he needs that money. And sometimes the Lord will do that. Sometimes, other times today, in today's society, it's like, man, you can't hardly trust him. You don't want to give it to anybody. It's sad. We had one person call here to church the other day, and it's always usually on Sunday morning. I'm just checking around to see if you got anything that will help me. I'm going to so-and-so, driving from here to here, and I need some money. Well, how in the world are you going to get here if we, if you don't, I didn't ask him that. No, we're not, you can't ask too many questions because they'll hang up on you for you. Anyway.
That's true, buddy. How can we give to you if you can't get here?
That's right. There's something.
When I was pastor in Broken Arrow, I think it was on a Saturday, I got a call, and this guy seemed sincere. Said he was a minister and that he had been traveling, and that I don't know exactly how he ended up in Broken Arrow, but so I said, okay, I usually meet him somewhere. I went over to I forget a little restaurant and met him there. So I bought him breakfast, and when I left, I had $150. I had $100 bill and a $50 bill.
Mm-hmm.
So he talked, and I felt okay, And so finally, I said, okay, he wanted me to do some stuff, and I said, well, I'll give you some money, and then you'll have to And so I give it to him. I put the $50 bill in one pocket and the $100 bill in the other pocket. Well, when I give it to him, I noticed he looked at it and he smiled real big, and he put it in his pocket. And so we talked and we prayed, and he went on his way, to the bus station to go. So I was feeling in my pocket to get my $100 bill.
It was 50, wasn't it?
And I realized I'd give him that $100, and I felt, well, Lord.
Yes, you
Yeah, I guess I was supposed to give him $100.
Mm-hmm. That's right. Verse 4. And all the wise men that wrought all the work of the sanctuary came every man from his work which they made. And they spake unto Moses, saying, the people bring much more than enough for the service of the work, which the Lord commanded to make. And Moses gave commandment, and they caused it to be proclaimed throughout the camp, saying, let neither man nor woman make any more work for the offering of the sanctuary. So the people were restrained from bringing, for the stuff they had was sufficient for all the work to make it, and too much. That's where the Lord is providing. The people moved upon the people, and they brought more than what was necessary. It reminds us of David when they, shut the gates. We don't need any more. Many times, if we just allow God to it's hard for us to say, how brother Queener take off and got $12 in his pocket or whatever, going to some South America country or whatever, and just on a whim, God told me to go there, and that's I wish I could get there. I don't know. I mean, God blesses me, but boy, that's a lot of blessing.
I've moved, but I've had potential for a job.
Mm-hmm.
But somebody just like Brother Philip,
yeah,
when he went to Ukraine,
take off. He didn't know.
cold turkey, man.
Nobody over there. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's one of those things that you have to really
Trust the Lord, has to be.
Prayed up, yeah. That God's going to help you and be there for you.
Go there without a soul, not know anyone.
Mm-hmm.
No, not even where you're going to live. That's in a heart.
Yep.
We shouldn't look at the person. If the Lord is moved upon us to give somebody money,
Mm-hmm.
if we're in self, we might, well, that person's better off than I am.
Yeah.
Well, Lord, why are you? That's not it. I mean,
Right.
we need to be obedient to the Lord,
right,
and follow after, because we don't know the circumstances. We may think we do,
mm-hmm.
but God does. And when God puts it on us to do, whether it's given to the church or given to an individual, it's our responsibility to be obedient and to do it.
That's right.
Yeah.
Our hands are off of it.
You does what God told you to do.
Yeah, this is it.
It's up to
And that's,
the
all,
God.
you know, all that's, it goes against human nature.
Right.
If I'm gonna give you some money, but I don't want you to know what you're doing with it, where you're gonna spend it, and, you know.
Yeah.
Well, I've seen people where I've been in that situation, help people out, and then a little later on, I'm saying, you're buying all this junk. You know? But you really don't need it. That's my mind.
Yeah.
But I think at the time, the Lord moved on me, and I hands off. It's theirs now. They do what they want. And that can happen wherever it is. People, for whatever reason, we don't know what all they sacrifice and go through. I mean, especially like we're talking about our missionaries like Philip and all those things. We may give, and some people, it's hard. We put our standards, you know, that if it was me, this is what I'd do. But you're not in their shoes. And we don't know what they've done. They may be working their hearts out. And, you know, then the missionaries, just a lot of the missionaries have to come back to the States to get refueled because they have to keep going on, keep people, sometimes at the time, if you're not there in front of people, the giving starts falling off. But that's what God moves upon people to. It's not the person, but it's God moving upon them, whoever it is.
And they deserve things, you know what I'm saying? A lot of times, again, you know, a pastor deserves a good car to drive, and I'm not, that's my, you know what I mean? But, you know,
Yeah, I've had people come up and say, well, I'm not going to give to them. I know that they went over and bought this, that, and I'm like, well, that's their problem with God. That's not yours.
But you see
You
the
know,
road
you
sign
gave to
on
them.
the road that says I need weed. I saw that.
Well, there are certain things that's out there. People
I saw
want
that twice
what they
now.
want.
I need weed.
Yeah.
But there was one guy that I was at Brother Epperson's favorite place to eat breakfast at. One of them anyway. And he said he really needed something to eat. Well, I said, sure, I'll be happy to buy you breakfast, you know. And I said, come on in here and I'll give you money. You can order what you want. He takes the money, goes outside for a few minutes, comes back in and said, no, ma'am, I need to be honest with you. I was going to buy you cigarettes and dope with it. He said, you keep your money. I said, no, you were honest with me. Come and have breakfast. But how many of them do you find that really will do that, you know?
When I was going downtown to the
There's constant
church
struggle.
there, one of the things that the pastor said that they would do, you know, they would, of course, they had on Fridays, they had a meal. One of our guys is in our business, is kind of associated with church. They had handouts for the homeless. They had some big sack lunches. That's not every Friday, but once a month or once every 2, 3 months. And, but one of the things they said that they do over there was their outreach, that they would go around and get gift cards, you know, to Arby's, McDonald's, all the places downtown that's right around there, Taco Bell, Taco Bueno, and hand them out to them. They said, now, that's not a total help. I mean, they can turn right around and sell those and get the money they want, do whatever they want to it, but at least you're not giving them the money up front. So.
noticed, it's been a couple weeks ago, I was working on the children's church. I went over to, what's that chicken place over by Charlottesville?
Churches.
Church's Chicken. And that's, you know, they got that old hotel there and stuff, and you can get a lot of transients running through there.
Right.
But I seen this car, it pull up and they jump out and they had a plastic bag and a bottle of water. And every time they'd see somebody, like, you know, walking or, you know, they'd run up and give them that bag. And I guess it had a, you know, sandwich or something in it, and then they give them a bucket. Because I seen one take it and open it up and start eating and stuff. And I thought, it's not, I mean, you know, they're going to get, most, at least they know they got one meal, you know, and they didn't spend it for anything except that. So.
Sure. We've actually bought people meals or given people meals that we had. We just bought some, given it to them. And they need needed to be someplace else, and they were wanting to ride. So we told them, took them over to the place that they were going. And then when we left, they basically kept what they liked. Because we had some other stuff in there, and they didn't eat what we would eat, some other stuff. It's one of those things. You've done what you can do, but we went ahead and threw it all out because we wasn't doing, we gave it to them and they scrambled through it. But anyway, we'll get off of that. The Lord provided for them all that they had. Verse 8, it said, and every wise-hearted man among them that wrought the work of the tabernacle made 10 curtains of fine twined linen and blue and purple and scarlet, with the cherubim of cunning work made he them. The length of the one curtain was 20 and 8 cubits, and the breadth of one curtain was 4 cubits. The cubits were all of one size. And he coupled the 5 curtains one unto another, and the other 5 curtains he coupled one unto another. And he made loops of blue on the edge of the curtain from the selvage in the coupling. Likewise he made in the uttermost side of another curtain in the coupling of the second. 50 loops made he in one curtain, and 50 loops made he in the edge of the curtain, which was in the coupling of the second. The loops held one curtain together, or one to another, and he made 50 taches of gold, and coupled the curtains to one and another with the taches, so it became one tabernacle. And if you go back and read, you can see it's kind of what we went over before. They made the tabernacle, had that inside covering, and it had all this, I think the 3 different coverings on top of it to keep it waterproof, to keep everything contained where the people, couldn't see in the Holy of Holies, but yet it was open up front where they could see, and the tabernacle was outset. It had linen cloths all around it, an opening where they could see into it. But that's kind of talking about the tabernacle itself, or the inner part of it. 14 says, and he made curtains of goat's hair for the tent over the tabernacle. 11 curtains he made them. Length of one curtain was 30 cubits, and 4 cubits was the breadth of the one curtain. 11 curtains were one size, and he coupled 5 curtains by themselves, and 6 curtains by themselves. And he made 50 loops upon the uttermost edge of the curtain in the coupling, and 50 loops made he on the edge of the curtain, which coupleth the second. And he made 5 taches of brass to couple the tent together, that it might be done. So again, it's the second layer, the other layer that they have. And then the next layer is, and he made a covering, verse 18, for the tent of ram's skins, dyed red, and a covering above that of badger skins. Above that, that's what it said. So it's the complete. It's just rehearsing again what had been given before. The inside of it, verse 20, and he made boards for the tabernacle of acacia wood standing up. The length of the board was 10 cubits. The breadth of one board was 1.5 cubits. One board had 2 tenons, equally distanced one from another. Thus did he make for all the boards of the tabernacle. And he made boards for the tabernacle, 20 boards for the south side, southward. 40 sockets of silver he made under the 20 boards, 22 sockets under one board for his 2 tenons, and 2 sockets under another board for his 2 tenons. And for the other side of the tabernacle, which is toward the north corner, he made 20 boards. And there 40 sockets of silver, 2 sockets under one board, and 2 sockets under another board. And for the sides of the tabernacle westward, he made 6 boards. And 2 boards made he for the corners of the tabernacle and the 2 sides. And they were coupled beneath, coupled together at the head thereof, to one ring. Thus he did to both of them in the corners. And there were 8 boards, and their sockets were 16 sockets of silver, under every board 2 sockets. And he made bars of acacia wood, 5 for the boards of the one side of the tabernacle, and 5 bars for the boards of the other side of the tabernacle, and 5 bars for the boards of the tabernacle on the sides of the west. And he made the middle bar to shoot through the boards from the one end to the other. And he overlaid the boards with gold, and made their rings of gold to be placed for the bars, and overlaid the bars with gold. So as we went through and studied the tabernacle, we kind of talked about that. They put tenons or pieces of wood that would go down in the sockets of silver. And then they had along each edge kind of tenons that went in that would couple one another together. And then they had these rings that they put in place and staves or boards, as they called them, that went across and held the boards kind of upright. And then the tent itself held it up when they held it, and they had tents coming
And
down.
it had to be pretty sturdy.
Had to be pretty sturdy with the winds.
Layers of roof.
Had to be locked.
Didn't say how thick they were, but I'm sure they had to be pretty thick to hold all that up.
And taking down and putting back. Yeah, I mean, they had to be strong, and that would have worn out.
Yep, yep. But they didn't move it. We talked about that a little bit. They didn't move it that often.
True.
So, I mean, it was just, what I found is only half a dozen times that they actually moved
But
it
even
over
that,
the years.
if
It'd take a
it was
little-
strong,
it'd
be
take a
easy
little
to
time,
tear by
yeah.
moving it.
Yeah.
Wouldn't have to move it very far, because with that many people, you're not gonna make a lot of distance.
No.
You could set it up in 2 or 3 weeks, you still be a couple of
Still be
miles.
getting
I
there.
mean,
Mhm.
the last would be 2 miles away from the.
That's right. And the last verse 35, 6 and 7. And he made a veil of blue and of purple and scarlet, fine twined linen, with cherubims made he of it of cunning work. And he made thereunto 4 pillars of acacia wood, overlaid them with gold. Their hooks were of gold, and he cast for them 4 sockets of silver. And he made a hanging for the tabernacle door of blue, purple, and scarlet, fine twined linen of needlework, and the 5 pillars of it with their hooks. And he overlaid their chapters and their fillets with gold, but their 5 sockets were of brass. So, like I said, we kind of went through this quickly, but it's stuff that we've already went through. We've learned a little bit additional information. Next week, they're going to bring up, it's going to be a little bit more. It's about the vessels that they make the tabernacle. So, appreciate everybody coming out. And
Thank you.
any questions or any comments? Or, we'll say good night to everybody on Facebook land.
Good night, everyone. Good night, Brother Bill. It'll get dark soon